Howdy, folks. My name is David Levine, if you're new here. I am a independent classical pianist, a self-proclaimed amateur, and I do a newsletter called Music Heals, and I'm just talking about the healing power of music. I like to share about doing this completely independently, and I think that's kind of rare. So over the next few months, we're going to be doing these lives where I just pull questions out of a box and we're just going to chat casually. Occasionally, we'll have collaborators come on, fellow musicians, whether they're classical or not, and they'll be kind of chit-chatting, nerding out with me. And I'm open to answering questions live as well. So if you have any, just put them in the chat and I'll either answer them today or incorporate them in future. And what we're listening to is one of my albums that's out right now. You can stream it anywhere. So please stream this later, higher quality. You'll hear a little bit come in while we're chatting. And I sort of pre-selected this question because I think this is a good one. So pre-performance rituals. Do you have any rituals, spiritual, mental, or physical, that you use before a performance to ensure you're connected to the emotional core of the music? Okay, so similar to like sports people, I'm a little bit superstitious as a musician. Before I go and perform, there's always a set ritual physically and mentally that I do so that I'm like ready to go. Because honestly, I don't love performing, so I get nerves. I get um, a little bit of like a self-esteem confidence issue right before performing. And so I like to just focus and be completely ready. So every time I am warming up my hands, literally, physically, I'll go to the bathroom and warm up my hands in the sink. Um, it mentally, if I'm completely alone, I'll say it out loud, but mentally I'll be telling myself like, you are qualified to do this. You know what you're doing. You are a musician. You have done hard things, right? I'm really just trying to psych myself up and like give me the confidence boost that like a friend or a sibling or whatever other people would give me this confidence boost, right? So that's what I try to do. And then I just make sure I'm breathing. And I do a lot of this type of stuff to make sure my hands are like the muscles are moving and I'm ready to go and approach the piano itself, the keyboard. Um, the rest of it is all mental. It's literally just having the confidence to go out there and get to the keyboard and then just be as calm as possible and present. Normally by the end of like the first piece, I'm like, okay, yeah, I got this. I got this. Um, but yeah, I would be curious to know what other people's rituals are, and especially pianists, because I'd imagine they're just as kind of superstitious and stick to the same routine. Like I go as far as making sure that I have the right food in me, that I have slept well the night before. Performance is really all encompassing, and it really kind of takes over your life, to be honest. So I'm glad that I don't do it often. Um, by the way, I'm cutting up more questions to add into this box. Describe a specific early memory that first made you realize music was more than just sound, that it held true emotional or spiritual power. I mean, man, as I was growing up, my mom played all the time. Um, so I was hearing Chopin and Scriabin and Rachmaninoff always. Joplin was really exciting to me as well. And then like the demo tracks on a keyboard, I was obsessed with demo tracks. So I don't know, I just always felt like I would enter a flow state during certain songs. You know, the same you guys would feel with anything else that you love. It's the same thing. And so that's how I knew I loved classical. And ever since, I've just kind of been obsessed with the challenge and the puzzle of it. And I think nonverbal music is particularly, like, I think it has particular power to allow us to meditate. So, yeah, I just have always loved it, you know, and that's what I'm hoping to do with Music Heals and my newsletter and the albums I release is always sharing and trying to translate like nonverbal classical music, which I think is fairly inaccessible and like not very welcoming, that world. I try to make it more emotional and story based so that the average person can be like, oh yeah, that's cool. I also always like to tell people like who don't have knowledge or interest in classical, it's always valuable to kind of get out of your comfort zone and listen to something you're bored of in between the stuff you love. Because then when you revisit, you know, like the stuff you love, it's even better. You know what I mean? So there's a reason why there's thousands of playlists out there that are all nonverbal, uh, instrumental, vibey, classical music. And the reason is because it is really beneficial to your focus, productivity, if that's what you're going for, meditation, journaling, crafting, getting inspired. Like, I think having the nonverbal is really valuable for us, making our brain making it what it needs to be for that moment. So we can apply a story, we can kind of make it therapeutic because of that. When it's a verbal song, it's not always something that we can connect with, if that makes sense. So okay, describe a time when a mistake or wrong turn in practice led you to discover a surprising and beautiful musical idea. Oh my gosh, so many times. Like, I think the concept of practice itself is such a skill to learn, especially playing an instrument. Um, I think if you play through a song and just only practice that way, you are bound to fail when you perform. You have to, what I've learned over 30 years of playing piano is you kind of have to challenge yourself every day when you practice. And what I mean is playing syncopated, playing offbeat, staccato, super loud, super soft. Like you just kind of throw yourself curveballs so that you're always actively thinking. Because, like, if I were to just play Fur Elise 100 times, you kind of just put it into muscle memory and that's really not effective. Like if I want the audience to be inspired by the thing I'm playing, I need to be completely conscious in it, and the only way to do that is to be so used to being conscious with it that I can during a performance when the nerves are high, like the energy and the stakes are up. I have to be ready for every little mistake, right? Because I'm bound to make a mistake mid performance. So if I practice that, that's how I can really be present and conscious and hopefully inspire somebody who's listening. These are like the little things, like a non-instrumental, non-pianist, non-musician. You wouldn't think of this because you would just assume, I would imagine, you'd probably just assume like, oh, he's just playing this 100 times and then he's ready to go. The reality is, you have to practice a piece in a billion different ways so that you're ready for the mistake you can't anticipate you're going to make. Does that make sense? Trying to practice while you're freezing cold, trying to practice while you're really hungry. I mean, there's a billion different curveballs you could throw yourself in practice so that you're ready for the performance. Does that make sense? These are things I never would have thought of without decades and decades of random practice and realizing that, oh crap, I wasn't ready for that. And here we are, I'm playing it, performance live, and I have to be ready. Um, so now I know throwing myself curveballs ahead of time is valuable. And anybody who's trying to get into performing a instrument, I would recommend the same. You know, it's kind of like if a friend asks you recite, like, oh, tell me that joke again, do that accent. It's hard to do it on command, right? It's the same with music. You have to be so ready and present. And it's really hard to do. It's hard for me every time. And I've done it a billion times. Okay, which musician or artist, living or deceased, outside of the classical tradition has most profoundly influenced your instrumental style or emotional delivery? There's so many. There's so many. I wasn't just raised with classical music, so like I love David Bowie, I love Ani DeFranco, I love Britney Spears, I love stuff on the radio, Doja Cat. I mean, you name it, I still listen to it and I still love it. So I think you can take inspiration from so many things. Like I've taken inspiration from Kesha's storytelling in her or in her new independent era, you know. I've taken inspiration from again, Ani DeFranco, David Bowie, like you name it, you've listened to it. I love them, right? Yes, Amelia. So like just because I'm a classical musician does not mean I'm not taking inspiration all the time from external classical. And by the way, like, you know, I talk a lot about accessibility and making classical piano welcoming for the average listener. And like, I think it's important for us musicians to talk about what we like to listen to when it isn't just classical. Yes, I'm obsessed with Chopin, Rachmaninoff, the Romantic era pianists, you know, Liszt, all of them. But that doesn't mean my playlist outside is just this. It's also rap, Missy Elliott, Britney Spears, I don't know, just whatever that's on the radio, you know? So there's a lot to be inspired by, and I think you can find it and morph it into what you need. So, and I do it for my album design, my marketing plans, how I'm trying to engage and connect with people. It's not from classical musicians, I'll tell you that much, because I don't really like how a lot of modern classical musicians, how their management has decided to like market them. I think it's really, I understand if somebody's a virtuoso, of course you're going to lead with the virtuoso, the name, the face, the accolades, but I just feel like it's really ego based. And I'm, as an independent person who does this as a hobby and a passion, I don't like to lead with ego. I like to lead with music heals, right? I like to lead with the mission, the meditation. Um, I like to lead with the end game of the classical, how I want a listener to enjoy it during activities. It doesn't have to be active, right? Whereas I think a lot of modern stuff is it leads with ego, with like the pianist's face, and it leads with really boring, scholastic, academic things that just don't connect with the average person. And I think we need to assume that, especially with this modern world, with like classical music is not the go-to, and AI algorithms and all of that, they're not going to select classical. So we need to help people find it. And let alone once they find it, we have to help them enjoy it, right? And be inspired by it. So anyway, anyway, I could talk about that for hours, but I won't bore you. Okay, I'll pull another question. Okay, the soundtrack of chaos. If you had to score 30-second scene of pure hilarious domestic chaos, what is this question? Like dropping groceries or tripping over the cat. What musical style would you use? Okay, I guess I would use like Gershwin. He has a really funny, cute set of jazz concert studies, a set of 3. And I think those would be really good for like a funny, um, you know, like stumbling down the sidewalk about to trip. I think Gershwin does good with that. Obviously, like Rhapsody in Blue is just wonderful, and he's got so much other stuff that is not widely known that like a classical pianist would probably undertake, not purely jazz, you know. It's more jazzical, if that makes sense. Gershwin is a perfect choice. Yes, Amelia. Amelia, remind me, are you a musician? That I see so many people and I've met so many people online, it's hard to keep track. Let me know. Okay, name one piece of music you absolutely adore but refuse to play, and explain why you feel it should remain untouched by your own performance. Oh, that's a good one. Okay, one piece of music I love but I refuse to play. Um, I would say Chopin's Nocturne, Opus 48-1. It's going to be on my next album, which is out in a few months. I'll talk more about that another time. Um, it's not an easily digestible piece of music. It is, if a song is something I freaking love and am obsessed with, but I can't see an audience member being inspired by it, maybe it takes 6 minutes to get to the climax. Maybe it's a little too in your head, maybe there's not music around it that fits. These are the reasons I would choose to not play a piece, perform a piece. But that doesn't mean I don't play it for myself. Does that make sense? So, like, Chopin's Nocturne Opus 48 number 1, which again, it's on the next album and it's amazing. It's really dark. It's a long piece. It's about 8 minutes and it's just too it takes too long for the buildup, and I feel like the buildup is really high stakes as well. So I would be scared to perform that. I wouldn't know if the audience would connect, and by the time I get to the climax, I'd be too in my head about, am I going to mess this up? Am I going to botch this? I am an opera singer and I listen to Red Hot Chili Peppers. Yes, I love Red Hot Chili Peppers. That's so awesome. Amelia, if you ever want to hop on these lives and answer a question or two with me, you just say the word and we'll make it happen. And we can promo whatever you want that you're working on or any projects you've got going. For the next couple of months, I'm going to be doing this sort of thing where I'm just casually answering a bunch of questions and bringing people on and just making this a little bit more accessible because, like, you're in the world of classical with opera and it's hard for the average person to be welcomed in, don't you think? If you love yeah. Oh my gosh, amazing, Amelia. So let's connect. Just send me a message later. And it's really casual, by the way. So like I don't like planning this too much. Like maybe I would know a day or a week ahead at most. Um, but yeah, like I would love that. I would love that. It is. It is. And you know what? Like my goal for these lives, it is not to have some super polished thing. It is genuinely to have this type of casual chit chat. I think people crave it. And I know even as a classical musician, like I don't see this often. There are a couple musicians I follow online and they don't, I can name two literally that do this. Tiffany Poon, and in fact I can't remember who the other one is, but they do like these blog type things and it's just rare and it's like it's what we crave. A credentialed actual musician who's creating and sharing, but also who talks openly. Like I don't see that often. Sweet Amelia. Well, I look forward to that. I look forward to it. Okay, I'll pull another question here in a minute. One of my ideas too is I'm going to be talking about all of the physical and mental tools that I use to do this whole production that I've done. And I don't mean this stream, I mean the music, the recording, the post process, the YouTube, the video editing, the every single tool I use. One of these days in the next couple months, I really want to talk through how I do all this because I wish I knew this 2 years ago before I released Refuge, before I released the stuff that's coming out in a few months. Um, this other thing I want to do is talk about all of the like physical therapy stuff I need. Just as a normal human, I think a normal human would need the PT things that I use, but also like as somebody with chronic illness, there's so much maintenance that I have to do mentally and physically that is not really talked about in the music world. I don't know why they shun that conversation, but I want to make that public because that is really one of my missions anyways, is that music heals. And I think it heals me, but it's also hard on the body and the mind, if you're not ready for it. Scott Jones is an incredible pianist on Substack. Oh, okay. I'll look into them. Amelia. Scott Jones. I hope I remember that. Scott Jones. I'll look into it. Yeah, it's been hard to find fellow classical musicians, Amelia, even on Substack. Like, I've met so many musicians generally on here, but classical, it's hard, because it's not an exciting endeavor, I don't think. And I don't know, it's hard for search results to give me what I'm looking for. Does that make sense? Thank you for saying this. Being a musician requires so much training. People only see the stage, not behind it. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot. There is so much practice, learning. There's so many physical and mental therapies, training, conditioning. Um, the touring aspect of gigging is insane. And, you know, I just sit at a keyboard. Like, Amelia, you're singing. Like, that's even more personal and vulnerable, in my opinion. So I can't imagine having to use my body and my voice in that way. Um, that is tricky. I mean, I get nervous thinking about singing in front of people, even though I'm a musician, So that's funny. It's funny. Okay, let's do another one. Describe a time your instrument seemed to have a mind of its own, either beautifully resisting or perfectly yielding to your intent. Dude, these are good questions. Okay, immediately I think of a time I bombed severely. So about 6 or 7 years ago at this point, I was invited to be part of this Alzheimer's fundraiser. And so I get on stage, and I realized in that moment I had never really done a sound check. So I also didn't get an idea until I was on stage of like the lighting situation. And first of all, I had trouble seeing because of the lights. It was like spotlight, and I had never had that before. Um, Also, like the speakers weren't really working like normal. So I was hearing more than what the audience was hearing. And so that really threw me for a loop because, I had only practiced with a certain volume level essentially. And so that was rough. All that to say, I was getting in my head severely. And so I sat down and I went to play. In fact, is it on this? It's on this. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm going to play this. So I started with this. It's a beautiful 50-second piece, right? It's a Schumann. It's one of the many pieces in his series called Carnival. And anyways, so I had it in my fingers. I had played it for years. I was like, oh, this is the perfect warm-up piece for me. It was not. It was not the perfect warm-up piece. And I completely bombed it. Like, I didn't know what the hell I was playing. And it was honestly embarrassing. Of course, no one knew the piece. So it was just me freaking out internally. And by the way, that's another thing that musicians have to do is there's mistakes all the time that people don't know are happening. We know it's happening, but we have to act like it's not so that it's not a thing, right? And so all of a sudden, we're having like a mini panic attack internally. We're sort of used to it, but unfortunately, it makes us kind of have to live multiple lives live with you, right? And so it's really tricky. It is really tricky. So I had to go straight from that piece into another lovely piece, which went just fine. But like, yikes, man, that was brutal. That was brutal. And I will never forget it. I always think about that when I play that piece, is like, I cannot believe I survived bombing that so badly, you know. The audience never knows. It's true. Like, I used to be so hard on myself and requiring a perfection, a level, a standard that was unnecessary. Like, I was comparing myself to my heroes. I really was. And um even my heroes probably feel this, right? And so I think we all have to get over that hurdle of like, I'm enough. Like, I'm not the pro virtuoso that I look up to, and that's okay. Music is still worthy of creating and sharing, even imperfect. And I would argue even more so today, because AI slop and people doing like MIDI tone alteration on music, it makes it so that there's never imperfection in the music, in the modern music we listen to. So like, my album Refuge, in my next album, and probably more to come, to be honest, in years and years to come, I like to think of my music as live recordings. Like, you will hear major hiccups in certain pieces, but I never would have released it had it not been for me saying, you know what, that mistake didn't take away from what I was going for, the story or the emotional momentum that I was building. That mistake didn't take away from it. So that's what I go for when I release music. I actually like to keep imperfections in, because I like to prove to you, the listener, who is now used to getting fed AI algorithmic stuff that literally is built by AI. Um, it's important for you to be like, wow, this is a human. This is like intentional creation, right? It is not just thrown into a MIDI piece of software and perfect. That would be robotic. You don't know it. You don't know it as an average person. It would actually be painful to listen to if it were perfect. Don't get me wrong, I love my virtuosic heroes. Don't get me wrong. I am inspired by them, but I'm never going to be that. So I have to be okay in uh, strive for excellence in my own way. Does that make sense? Perfection is a cruel concept. We all do it by accident. We do. It's There's nothing wrong with striving for excellence. There's a there's a stark difference between requiring yourself to be perfect and striving for excellence. Striving for excellence makes us better. It it pushes us out of our comfort zone. It forces us to learn new techniques and things that we never would have learned. Um, it forces you to release an album that's imperfect. But guess what? I released an album, right? So like, if I had been forcing myself to be perfect, this never would have come out. And my next one, it's so good. It is like, this was my training ground CD from last year. This next one, oof, it is so, I'm so excited. I'm so excited. And if you can tell, I have stamps ready for boxes, because I've been planning the release, the marketing, all the things. So I'm so excited. I'm so excited. Okay, let's do like one or two more questions. Yeah, Amelia, maybe next weekend we can hop on together. And you don't have to do long. You can do 5 minutes. You can do one question if you want. And think of something you'd want to promote too. Because I'd love for you to introduce yourself briefly, of course, like before we get into a question. And then I'd love to be able to promo an article or a post or a note, or a launch that you have, like, you know, use this as a platform as well as let's just chat. You know what I mean? Thank you. Yeah, it's cool. It's weird to look back because, a little over a year ago I started live streaming piano on TikTok. Then I moved to YouTube. I had a little bit of a viral thing go on with a Furelise piece, which is hilarious. But it was Furelise. I did it as a joke. It was just a rendition of Furelise, and it went a little bit viral. I didn't really know what to do with that. So, and then I got overwhelmed. So I've since stopped putting stuff on YouTube unless it's recast of this and live stuff. But it's weird to look back and be like, wow, the things that I have had the opportunity to learn through hundreds of hours of live streaming, creating content, quote unquote, figuring out how the hell to do this, distribution online. Like, there are so many things that, and I should also say there's a caveat, like, the guides online, nothing is specific for independent classical pianists. That's not a thing, like independent distribution of classical music. So I had to figure all this out through the systems that were in place. Um, and I'm so happy I did it because now, like with this next launch, it's been so seamless. All the things are ready to go. It's been plugged in, approved. I have a CD test coming, a mock one. Um, Last year, it was like, how the hell do I make a CD? How do I format the title of a track for a classical piece? Okay, changing tastes. Has your favorite type of classical music changed dramatically as you've grown older or gone through different life stages? Yeah, it has. It's evolved. Um, I first got into ragtime, Scott Joplin. I'm actually going to be revisiting Scott Joplin now that I've finished this upcoming album that will be released in a few months, just for fun to get out of my head. But I gradually went from Scott Joplin to Romantic period, so Chopin, Rachmaninoff. I then got into a little bit later Romantic period, so Alexander Scriabin, Prokofiev. I then got into more jazz classical, so Gershwin. I discovered a amazing, oh my gosh, what is his name? Um, there's a jazzical composer, and the name it's right here, and I can't access it. But there's a very more modern jazz classical composer who just makes incredible stuff. Um, that's kind of where I'm at now. Is I'm more into. I mean, I still love Romantic period music, and that's really all I record and produce in my albums is Romantic period music. However, on the side, I am hardcore into like jazz classical. I like to say jazzical. It's really, I don't know, it's highbrow, it's out there, and it's just fun. It's just fun. And it's not dissonant, by the way. It's not new, like contemporary classical, which I really do not like. I do not like that. I think everybody, I'm sure Amelia, you as well, everybody's got their like genres that they go through. And yeah, it's just fantastic. Like, I don't know. I think it's fun to evolve and then to revisit. Like, that's where I'm at right now is I'm revisiting. So, I finished this album and I kind of was in a funk because I'm like, how do I play music anymore? Like, this was such a creative gestation period that I was like, I don't know if I want to play Romantic period anymore. That's not true. It's just I was in 10 months of hardcore work. And now I'm like, wow, I would really love to just not do something as a CD. I just want to play ragtime like I wish I could have 25 years ago. Now I'm going to go in and work on The Entertainer, work on the Cascades, all these pieces that got me into piano 20 plus years ago. It'll be really exciting to work on ragtime. And it's such a different, upbeat story that goes with it rather than the music I'm used to publishing, you know? I don't like this one because this is more for vocals. So this one will be a good one for you, Amelia. Maybe we'll pull it. Maybe we'll pull it when you come on. Okay, visualizing the sound. What role does the visual presentation of your piano and your playing space play in supporting your mission of calmness and healing? It's almost like I wrote this question. Um, well, if you don't know, and if you're new here, you're not going to know this, but I have published so much music, and most of it started on live streaming on TikTok. And so it was important for me to have like a visual identity, a creative, magical little dungeon, if you will, with my piano. And so I very carefully crafted my studio space that I record music in. And it's beautiful. It's got like candles, it's got a lot of owls, it's got a colorful backdrop, it's got like glittering lights everywhere. And I also wanted it to not be overly focused on me. I I do think it's important for any piano, like for the listener and viewer to be able to see hands. So I really wanted it to be more of like an over the shoulder, like you're looking over the shoulder as I play. I didn't want it to be about me per se, if that makes sense. I didn't want it to be ego based. Remember, I was talking about that earlier. So I'll show you. I'll show you sort of what the vibe is. So if you go to my website, which is davidlevinepiano.com, go to listen. Let's go to YouTube. Oh, okay. Actually, let's go to David Levine Piano YouTube. Yeah, sorry, that link goes to YouTube Music. So let me pause this. Here's a piece that's on my next album. This is what the visual vibe of my studio is. Looking to make sure you can see this okay. Yeah, there you go. You see it's like colorful, it's dramatic, I'm dark, like I'm blurred out, but you can see my hands perfectly. Let me Sometimes I'm like, damn, I played that? That's crazy. I know that sounds really like conceited, but you know, the polish that's required for some of these, it takes so. I did play that. Isn't that crazy? Sometimes you have to acknowledge your expertise. It's okay that I'm not perfect. Like I'm not a virtuoso. There's things in this that I'm not going to tell you what I messed up, but there's stuff I messed up. The important part is I don't want to be that boy cry wolf. Yeah, yeah. This is good. I love this track. This is a Rachmaninoff prelude. I'm so proud of myself for working on this album. My God. And what's cool too is this album doesn't come out for another couple months. Um, if you're watching this and on my Substack, or even better on my email newsletter, you'll get this way before the public gets this. Like all the stuff to either buy or listen on streaming. All that to say, like, I've given myself so much time in between completing the album and the marketing of it that, like, now I'm sitting here and being like, wow, I'm listening this like I didn't make it, right? It feels very objective and out of body, which is nice. It's hard to get that when you're so close to the music. Anyway, so that's the visual vibe of my studio. And even when I'm not doing it as a video, I have this type of environment because I think it's really important if I want the listener to be transported, like be able to create a story in their mind. Like I have to be able to feel like I'm in a magical place. So it was really important for me, especially as an independent classical pianist, like I need to have a set studio. I need to no, I'm not using acoustic. I'm using a digital Roland keyboard, a really nice keyboard. I am editing the music myself. Like, and by the way, when I say edit, I'm literally just upping the volume and making sure it's not what's the term when it is too loud, like in it statics. Like I'm making sure that I'm not doing anything else to the music. I'm not editing the tones. I'm not vamping anything. I may be bumping up or down reverb a tad, but that's just to make it enjoyable hearing it. Yes, mixing. Thank you. Thank you. See, this is what happens when like I'm not academically trained in anything, piano, playing, or doing the audio. So I've just cobbled together all these things through finding guides and stuff. And like hopefully it sounds good. You know what I mean? Okay, let's do one more question and then I'm going to head out here for the day. Yeah. Okay, let me go back to this music. We're going to do one more. Oh, this is such a good one to end on. Okay, by the way, Amelia, when you come on, this is how many options of questions we have. So it'll be fun. It'll be really fun when you come on. Okay, let me turn this down a bit. Okay, content burnout. What practices do you use to manage the pressure of creating consistent content without experience creative or emotional burnout? This is a really good question. Really good question. Okay. When when this says content, I'm going to make sure I give you the definition. So I am not talking social media content. I use the term because that's where it brings us, but I mean anything, any version of output that I have. There are so many things I make sure I do so that I don't burn out. Whether that is creating a recording for YouTube, doing a live with you here, that's me just chatting. Creating shorts and creating notes and there's the minutia of social media is crazy. So the most important thing is that I create my art and work on pieces that inspire me, and I don't work on too many pieces at a time. At this stage in my life and musical career, I would call it, I work on one hard piece at a time. If I'm not injured, which right now I'm sort of nursing a PT thumb issue, um, if I'm not injured, I do two pieces at a time. One of them is an easy piece, and the second is a difficult piece, a piece that's going to require extra polish. So this piece that we're hearing, easy, emotionally not, but physically easy. And so I make sure I have that, and then I'll do a piece like this, less Liebestrom. This would be the hard piece. You see why I think it's hard, right? So that section makes the piece hard. There's other sections in it, of course, that are challenging. But and again, I should also say there's a difference between emotional difficulty and technical difficulty. Like, just because I can play a piece does not mean I can emotionally give you the whole story in one sitting yet. And I think that is what I see a lot of like virtuoso, young, upcoming. Don't get me wrong, they're amazing. I look up to their physical and mental capability of performing that piece, right? However, a lot of times it's almost like they're too cranial about it. They're too like, I have to be right on beat. I have to do it robotically. I have to do this perfectly. And there's like no emotion, there's no story. So, in my opinion, the story is the most important part. Of course, that's easy to say because I'm not a virtuoso. Um, all that to say, like, I make sure I have easy, hard at the same moment, and then I do not rush it. I don't rush. How long is it going to take for me to master this piece? And I say master, like, get it to 97%. How long is it going to take for me to polish it? And then lastly, how long will it take for me to record it? Typically, I would give myself 3 days to record a piece. The first day is me just getting the best I can do out of the way. And then after that, I review those, and I'm like, I'll be thinking like, okay, I thought I could do this, but it's not sounding the way I wanted it. Let me polish and tweak these sections, and then I'll record another second day. If I didn't get it, I'll be like, okay, if I can't get it third day, I'm not ready. I'm not ready, and it's another 6 weeks. Um, I've stopped posting publicly on YouTube, so I do not have a schedule for that. I do this randomly, these lives now, where I'm just talking, chit-chatting, and the only deadline I have for myself is my newsletter, my email newsletter called Music Heals. Um, on Substack, it's called Music Heals as well, and you get fed in to the email. But the email newsletter, I send broadcasts at least once a month. That's the only deadline I have. And if you're passionate about something, you can write about 700 topics like that, right? So I've been doing that about 6 months now, and I love it. And so now my only purpose for creating music is slowly growing my discography, slowly growing a personal Vimeo platform I have where there's no ads. It's super high quality. It's called the Sound Sanctuary. And people get that when they donate anything, whether they subscribe on Substack and upgrade, or whether they like send me a donation through my newsletter. They get sent the Sound Sanctuary, which already has 2 hours plus of music. And it's basically like YouTube but hosted on my website, and no ads, no promos, nothing. Um, I stopped enjoying YouTube because there were so many ads that it's like, how can I tell people to enjoy this meditative music when they get an ad cut in the middle, right? So it just seems a little counter to my mission of Music Heals. So that's how I manage my content. And by doing that, I don't burn out. Like, now that I'm done with this album that I just did, I've been taking a massive break from the piano itself. From if I'm on the piano, like, I'm not trying to achieve some new thing. I'm not trying to do anything major. I'm just trying to have fun and return to the home of my soul, right? Play just for me for the next couple months. No productivity, no mission, no goal. Just the goal is enjoy and love the craft, and hopefully sharing it someday. But I probably won't record what I'm working on. Um, and yeah, that's how I prevent burnout. This has been really fun. I am gonna be leaving, so this was great. Look at this. Yeah, my new stamps for my boxes for the next couple months. I got about 150, 200 questions in there. We're going to have Amelia on at some point in the next couple months. We're going to have several other people. Tamara Casey here on Substack. We're going to have Daniel, I forget his last name actually. I'll have to double check that. But Dan is a more jazz improv pianist. Tamara is, I would consider her like folk and guitar vocal. We'll have some other people as well. So I'm just excited to be doing this new era of just chill, chit chat, get to know me, I get to know you. We'll keep doing this for months. So hop on randomly, say hello. Go check out Refuge on any of your streaming platforms and be on the lookout for other little surprises coming. And by the way, if you want to know what the surprises are, it's on my website, on my listen page, at least the announcement of what it is. Go check it out. Go check out the listen page, davidlevinepiano.com. This has been a pleasure. Later. Talk soon, Amelia. Awesome. Bye-bye.